Welcome to my space. Thanks for clicking on the button. Thanks for being here. Let's take 3 deep breaths together and gather yourself back into your body, into this moment. You've decided to be here, so let's gather and actually be together. So first deep breath, you're going to gather your energy back from your day, from people you love, from your work. Second deep breath, you're going to gather yourself back from projects and to-do lists and details and problem solving. Third deep breath, you're going to gather yourself back from the future and let yourself be right here. I am here. See if you can find a safe space inside of your body. So here we go. First deep breath in. On the exhale, spiraling down into your seat, into a deeper, safer space inside your body, slower space. Relaxing your chest and your face. Second deep breath. See if you can bring some stillness into the mind. On the exhale, dropping down into a safer space inside your body. Third deep breath in, gathering yourself back from the future. On the exhale, dropping down into your chair, slowing everything down. I am here. Welcome. I just returned from a 6-day retreat that was nothing like I thought it was going to be and everything it needed to be. I've been practicing for a long time, trusting what I feel inside my body as a leading when I'm making plans or when I'm saying yes to things or when life gives me opportunity. I drop in and I slow down and I let my yes and my no arise from my deeper embodied space. It's something I teach other people to do as well, but I've been practicing this for a long time. And as I was given the opportunity to go on this retreat with Dr. Azrin and Sarah Bertrand, two of my teachers for the last couple of years, I slowed down, I dropped in. It was a definite yes. It was a really incredible opportunity to be in a very small group with them, 8 people. There was only going to be 8 people. I was so excited about this retreat and felt like I was going to just land a lot of the teachings that I've been practicing with them in this body. And so as I was making plans to arrive in Asheville, and I bought the tickets a long time ago, I had considered whether or not I would go a day early, which I often do, and just explore the place that I'm going to by myself and just get a feel for the area. Or if I was going to fly in the day that the retreat started and just like, bam, there I am. I really sat with it. I wanted to go early, but as I kept sitting with it and just kind of waiting and feeling what was the plan, I knew it was just not the right time to take one more day and explore Asheville. So I booked the ticket for um I think it was the Friday. I'm all messed up on time now. The Friday that we were going to start. So here we come to the retreat, and I know that there is a hurricane heading towards the East Coast, but I still am really confident when I hear something. I know that my plan is in line with what life has for me. And so whatever it is that I meet, I'm here to meet it. And life wants me to meet it. It's an experience, an adventure. So it's one of the gifts of really learning to drop into my embodied yes and no. When I make a decision from my embodied yes and no space, I really don't question what's coming forward. I know whatever's coming forward is for me, and I enter into that with a lot of joy, no matter what it is. So I get on the plane that morning really super early. My layover is in Denver, and then from Denver, I am to get on a plane and go to Asheville. By the time I land in Denver, all flights to Asheville are canceled for the day. And I'm watching the news and I'm watching what's happening, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is going to resolve itself before tomorrow morning. And so I chose to stay in the airport that night to just watch what was happening. Now, here's another little fun thing. I left home feeling really frazzled, and this last couple of months for me has been really super intense as I have said yes to another expansion in my businesses. And for me, what this feels like is when I'm asked to expand into a greater version of me or a bigger experience, it feels to me like I'm a liter full of myself, a liter of water. And it's like life offers me a gallon bucket and says, okay, let's pour you into this gallon bucket and expand. And then there's more room to receive and more room to give and more room to grow. And the next adventure, right? So that is what has been happening in the last couple of months as I have felt this like myself dumped into this water of me dumped into this bucket, and there's all this space and it feels uncomfortable and I don't feel full and I feel stretched and all kinds of things. So I'm going into this retreat feeling like this, kind of sick of myself as well. So as my kids dropped me off, we were all kind of laughing and I said, "Well, you're going to have a really good time without me, and everybody needs a break from me." And they said, "Yeah, but you're going to have a good time without us too. You need a break from us." And I said, "Actually, no, I don't need a break from you. I love being with you. I need a break from myself. And the problem is I'm going with me. So now what?" So in this liminal space, back to the airport, in this liminal space, and I love airports because they feel like liminal void space. The energy of everyone is contained. Everybody's going in a different direction. They have different purposes. Even though it's busy, there's a very different kind of energy happening in an airport than like an amusement park or a concert or something like that. And I love being at airports because of this portal, void, liminal space energy. So when I decided to stay for the time to see what was going to happen, I was going to spend the night in the airport because I didn't want to spend money on a hotel if I was just going to turn around and go home or if I was going to actually get to Asheville. So I really started dropping down in, slowing down, feeling myself very present and just noticing. And so this is another practice that I teach, and it's an initiation practice. It's a deeper practice. It sounds very simple, but it's super deep. It's the practice of noticing and dropping into the I am in your center. I am here. I notice. I notice this thought. I notice this feeling. I notice this sensation. I notice this thing happening outside of me. I notice is a very magical space. I notice, and then I just hold what I notice in my loving awareness. I'm not there to change it. I'm not trying to do something different with what I notice. I'm not scolding myself about what I'm noticing. I'm just noticing it, holding it in loving awareness. So I started practicing this really intensely when I was in the airport. And then that ended up being my practice for my whole time away. One of my most potent practices that dropped me into a different space inside of myself and inside of my teachings and inside of my soul purpose. Um, so that's where it started. I'm watching the flooding get worse and worse and worse. Now I can't get a hold of my teachers, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? Are they okay? At this point, nobody really knew how bad it was really going to be. And as I sat in this airport, well, okay, so then I went into the next morning and it was very, very clear, okay, that retreat is done. I still hadn't heard from anybody from the retreat. Um, But as I kept slowing myself down and dropping into my present moment, am I here? Am I safe enough right now? What is my truth? Noticing this part of me that's freaking out. Notice this part of me that is thinking this, like noticing all these parts and just holding them in this loving awareness space. After I sat for a while with it. I chatted with my friend who was stuck in Atlanta, Georgia, who was going to meet me there at this retreat. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel the plan arising from a deep space inside of me. I kind of played with the idea of like, well, do I go home? And I sat with that for a while and was like, that is a no. It is not time for me to go home. And then all these parts of me that are freaking out. And then I sat with, okay, well, what if I stayed? And I just let myself notice what was arising as I thought through what would happen if I stayed. And it felt like a deep embodied yes, it is for me to stay. So every decision that I made came from that deep embodied space. Now, coming back to the fact that I had thought about previously landing in Asheville the night before, which flights were still going in the night before. Had it been a fuck yes in my womb to do that, I would have done it. And I would have known that the adventure that was there, the experience that was there for me through that natural disaster would have been for me. Because I didn't do that, and here I am now in a safe, non-disaster area, and life is now leading me into a different experience. I'm noticing feelings of guilt and fear around how am I going to go have a retreat in Denver while there are people suffering and in a very traumatic experience in Asheville, people that I love and care about. And this is another of my teachings that I can only live my immediate moment. I can only live my life. I cannot live the life that Azra and Saren were living in Asheville in the middle of the trauma. I can't live that. It is mine to live right where I'm at, right here, right now, and to meet the things that come up inside of me and hold whatever's coming up in loving and awareness. So one of the things that I really had to hold and work with was noticing this guilt for not being in the middle of that trauma, this guilt for being in a safe space, this guilt for potentially having this moment where I'm going to get this safe retreat. And, quite frankly, who the fuck knows what is safe and what isn't? I could have been eaten by a bear in the mountains. But all that to say, there is a lot of chaos happening in the world right now, a lot. And one of the ways that I help people work with this, first, I've worked with it within myself, is the idea that I am not living that experience in real time. Now, there will or may come a time where I am in the middle, and there have been times in the past where I have been in traumatic moments. Not as traumatic as some situations in the world, but definitely traumatic moments. Now, if I am there, when I am there in the future, I want people who are not in the trauma moments around the world holding this energy of living their present moment life, contacting their peace, grounding, pulling in earth and light, and feeding into this different energy than I might be experiencing in the trauma, instead of all the people that aren't in the trauma feeding into the chaos in the trauma with their energy and their franticness and their own fears that they're not meeting inside of themselves. That is not helping anybody on any part of the world that is in the moment of trauma. Now pause. If you're triggered, please take a deep breath. Even if you're not triggered, take a deep breath. I am not saying that there might not be inspired action for me or someone else to take if I'm not the one in the middle of the trauma. I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm saying if you are feeling something about a trauma that's happening in a different part of the world than you are currently in, your first job is to slow down and meet the part of you that is freaking out or angry or sad or scared? Can you notice the parts of you that are reacting to whatever trauma you're hearing about that is in a different place around the world? Can you slow down? Can you be right here, right now with you? Am I safe enough right now in this moment? I'm looking around. There is not war happening right here in this moment where I am at. I look around. There is not flooding happening right now in this moment where I am at. Then life is not giving me that challenge to live. So if I am safe enough right now, it is my privilege to ground my body, to meet the emotion that's coming up. Can I move through it with sound? Can I move through it with breath? Can I move through it with movement? And then I meet it and I move through it and then I ground again. This is going to shift the energy inside of you. It's going to bring peace to the chaotic or grieving or triggered or warring parts inside of you. And then once you've done that, once you've met yourself, then you might find life bubbling up and out of you to take inspired action in some way, whatever way you might be called to take inspired action to serve the world from where you're at. But do it from, if you can, do it from a slowed down, meeting yourself space, and then letting inspired action move through you. Now, what happens if life does not give you an inspired action to do specifically for that tragedy that's triggering you? It is my belief and teaching that if I am not feeling inspired action to do something very specifically for the trauma that's happening somewhere else, then it is I can't even think of the right word because it's not privilege and it's not right. It's like my life to live is to actually live then the present moment that's happening in real time. Keep tuning in. What is life doing in me? What is life doing through me? What is life moving me to do right now, here in this moment? Meeting myself in every moment. So back to my situation when I'm in Denver, I'm still in the airport and I'm making decisions to rent a bed in a hostel and to rent a car. And I'm feeling all of this movement life is doing through me as I've slowed down and I'm meeting the parts that are grieving and I'm meeting the parts that are triggered and I'm meeting the parts that are feeling so much compassion and I'm letting myself hold that piece, those pieces. And then I'm moving as life is moving me. And I end up just like in these gorgeous spaces over the next few days of my own retreat. And I'm going to share some of those things that came out from that experience over the next few videos. Also, you can check out my Instagram reels. I posted a few things in real time on there that you might be interested in seeing. They're pretty vulnerable shares, much more vulnerable than what feels like here because I was right in the middle of it. But if you are interested in hearing more of what transpired as I followed life where I was at in the present moment, it was really potent and powerful for me, and also solidifying a lot of my teaching, a lot of clarification came for me, but also a lot of embodied knowing that dropped in as I was communing with the sunlight and the water and the rivers and the mountains and the lakes and the breath. It was just like stunning to be in relationship in such an intense way, all by myself, with the elements, with the spirits of the land, and to feel that the teachings were coming to me and landing for me without a human teacher. So what I thought I was going into was to sit at the feet of a human teacher that I do totally appreciate and has given me maps that have been really important for the work that I'm doing forward in the world. But what I was called to do by life itself was to actually not be in the middle of that hurricane, meeting that lesson and that moment and that initiation, but instead to be on that mountain in the Rocky Mountains with the water, with the sun, with the beauty of that land, with the spirit of the land. My mother mountains, basically. I grew up in Montana and did a lot of exploring the Rockies when I was a kid in Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. So I was with my mother mountains. Life was calling me into my mother mountains to receive a transmission, and I did it. And I met it, and I'm excited to share more with all of you. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Actually, I'm going to pause for a minute, and I want you to just think of one thing. I want you to actually feel, not think. I'm going to pause. I'm going to breathe and hold the space. I want you to notice what is happening inside of your body. I said a lot of things, a lot of intense things. So take a deep breath. Notice what is happening. I notice a thought. I notice a sensation. I notice an emotion. I notice. Then can you breathe through that? Can you move if you need to move through it? How does that thing want to move? Or can I sound through it? Maybe you need to take a deep sigh. Maybe you need to hum. Maybe you need to like shake. What do you need to do? So that's how you meet what's happening in your present moment. And then you breathe, you move, you sound through it. Now, what do I notice? Is there something from what I shared that you want to hold on to or chew or ponder or contemplate? If so, what is that thing? What do you want to play with inside of your own self and your own experience from what I shared? Beautiful. If you have questions, please ask. I am not going to argue with anyone, so I enjoy respectful dialogue, and I'm not here to defend what I say or what I experience or what I teach. So I'm not welcoming any of that. But if you have sincere questions or want sincere conversation around anything I'm sharing, please contact me. I may have some time, sometimes I don't. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths to close this video. And again, thank you for spending time with me if you made it all the way to the end. First breath to honor yourself, second breath to honor me, the other, and third breath to close this space and then drop yourself down into yourself. I am here, and feel the roots. Here we go. Deep breath in for yourself. Deep breath in for the other. Deep breath in, closing this container and dropping yourself down into the roots. Thanks for joining me. I will be back. I hope you will be too.